We are live. This is the market update, the Friday night fire crash edition. Is the cycle over? Are there levels that you can look at to figure out whether or not the cycle is over? The Patreon Platinum just got the full report and the details, but I will be able to help you with some specifics and some guidance, including why the market is crashing. When you have forced selling, because when you have Bitcoin down 5%, folks, let's face it, you have forced selling. So the standard explanation is that you have people who bought Bitcoin short-term holders are all heaving the market. Okay, well, the market's been kind of nasty for a while. But all right, everybody just decided to sell at once. That's the generic retail idea. The real idea discussed this morning and in depth in our Patreon middle tier, both tiers got it, is that everybody did the Michael Saylor trade, which was the short MicroStrategy stock, which did crash, and be long Bitcoin against it, which didn't crash. Like Bitcoin held above 100 and MicroStrategy just kept going down. So all these big hedge funds covered their MicroStrategy exposure in the derivatives market, right? So they unwound their MicroStrategy bear trade and dumped all the Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin started to go lower, they were like, oh my God, we got to hurry up. And of course, this really hurts crypto because that capital doesn't go, say, from Bitcoin to something else. It goes back to the legacy hedge fund. So the whole market just kind of gets wrecked. Okay, not pleasant, not fun, but we do know what it is. Like first it was like, oh my God, is it Binance? Is it Wintermute? Is it all that kind of stuff? Or is it something else? And you didn't find out what the something else was until now. And to complete, because I like this little indicator, you got to have a Michael Saylor is going to blow up headline. You got to have it. To have a bottom, that's why I did my thumbnail this morning, like it's his fault. MicroStrategy now owes more than its Bitcoin is worth. In other words, said differently, the total value of MicroStrategy as a company is less than the value of the Bitcoin that it holds. Now, it used to be MicroStrategy was anywhere from 100% or more, right? A huge premium to the Bitcoin that it held. Why? Why did the hedge funds go out and do this trade to begin with? Well, it used to be MicroStrategy stock was like the only way for certain types of companies to get exposure to Bitcoin. So they all bought MicroStrategy. And then when the Bitcoin ETF came out and when Michael Saylor came out with a whole bunch of other products, MicroStrategy stock wasn't super special anymore. But now it's gone full stupid. Now we've gone the other way. So not only is it like, oh my God, Michael Saylor is going to blow up and no one wants to talk to him on TV and he's an irresponsible idiot. Okay, that's ridiculous. But this company has 700,000 Bitcoin. I don't know who's got that level of hard money, right? What company out there is going to be able to buy 700,000 Bitcoin? Like BlackRock can do that because it has an ETF. That's different. This is like we own 700,000 Bitcoin. And I've said this about MicroStrategy for years. I said it before it went parabolic. If you have to buy 700,000 Bitcoin, you will never get that Bitcoin in the open market. You're going to have to buy MicroStrategy. You're going to have to buy the company. So the fact that this stock is not only no longer special, but they're treating it like some run-of-the-mill, dummy company that went out and just decided to buy Bitcoin to pump their stock. This is like a super special company, and it's got a long-term vision, but the market has been like, okay, yeah, we're done. It's the ultimate give-up trade. when everybody thinks that whatever Michael Saylor's doing with 700,000 Bitcoin is not special anymore. Now, of course, there's TA to consider, right? We'll go into that, right? Patreon Platinum, again, has got all the details for both that and Zcash, which we will talk about. But let's just think about altcoins for just a second. Let's say the cycle was really over. Let's just say it was just over. It was FTX. We are done. Would XRP still be above $2? I don't think so. XRP trades like bull, strong like bull because of the ETF. Okay. Ethereum, Solana, all would have completely collapsed. You'd have 20 to 25% down days in all these altcoins if the cycle was really over, at least right this second. I mean, it wasn't even over in NASDAQ. Like, NASDAQ was the thing that I was afraid of. Everybody's afraid of. Oh my God. The next thing you know, NASDAQ bounces, and Warren Buffett, who wouldn't touch the Google IPO out of the gate in 2004, is now investing in Google. Now, Google probably does have a lot of advanced AI that I think people don't know about yet, right? I've thought that just from using its product. But listen, it looks like they're going out of their way to stop a stock market crash. Somebody told me that they're going to be releasing the September jobs report and inflation number like 5 days before Thanksgiving in order to pressure the Fed into cutting rates, which may also go with stimulus checks or the Treasury general account unleashing massive amounts of money into the system. So if the cycle was over, altcoins would have just completely imploded. And they didn't. You know, they were down like 2 or 3%. Ethereum versus Bitcoin was actually up today. Ethereum did better than Bitcoin today. Why? Because you have forced selling in Bitcoin or just general profit taking. I would call it at the market profit taking. People, you know, guys are just like, they're done. It's November. You know, they did this great trade. They've had it on for years, literally years. They're like, oh, well, we got to take our money. These guys are going to sell us Bitcoin. You know, they're going to give us a 100K bid for Bitcoin. We better hit it fast. And then they hit the bids, and then all the short-term holders heaved, and that's how you got 95K Bitcoin. You got fear, greed, I don't know, at 15 or 5 or whatever it is now, right? You have absolute panic, and it looks terrible. I get it. It feels terrible. Actually, it doesn't look terrible. It feels terrible because everybody like me thought 99 was the bottom. Okay, 99 wasn't the bottom, but consider this, seriously. They sold altcoins into support. Stay tuned. We're going over the chart. Bitcoin and Ethereum, especially Bitcoin, are at a key fib retracement. I'll pull the chart up soon. And everyone is bailing on the future of money when corporate bankruptcies are about to set kind of like a new annual record. The price of food is completely parabolic. They've lost control of that, or whatever interests control food are just literally just ramming it to the American public, right? I mean, average price of groceries for a family of 4 is up like $300 a month since 2017. I don't know how anybody keeps up with that or protects them from that if they don't own crypto. I don't. And they're literally handing you an opportunity to get involved. Now, of course, everyone who is involved is completely miserable and just can't stand it anymore. And I get it. I get it. But there's also another phenomenon happening here that people are missing because Monero is up 5% right now. Like, the privacy bull market is on. So this market has got like a double pain point. There's Monero, there's Zcash. I still think there's antivirus and Matrix. There are all of these altcoins that are actually in an uptrend. Zcash was at 480, just a support point that we had in Patreon, for like a day, maybe a day, before it just took off. And now it's headed for, one of our breakout points. We'll go over the DeMark chart on Zcash. There's an uptrend going on in crypto. It's just everyone's looking at Bitcoin, and you've got privacy alt season going on right now. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, it is happening. You got Arthur Hayes on the tape talking about Zcash as the last 1000X in crypto. I mean, Toby was talking about a repeat of 2017. What happens if you have a 2017 style Thanksgiving parabolic in Zcash? You don't think this can happen? It happened in 2017. I mean, who cares if it's the Winklevoss twins and venture capitalists? If you have a 1 or 2 coin market or a 1 sector market, this thing is on sale. Now, another word about altcoins. If you have forced selling in Bitcoin, once that's done, you'll know, because everything will just levitate up, including Bitcoin. But once that's done, what stops the market with liquidity coming in from either the Fed or the Treasury, right? NASDAQ didn't blow up, right? I mean, the thing that about, stonks is that, normally around Thanksgiving, that's when you would expect some level of stability in stonks, like the Santa rally-ish thing happens. Okay, well, Warren Buffett comes out and invests in Google, and stonks don't fall apart, and Bitcoin's down 5%. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's got to be the selling from these giant players. Because when I say giant players, we're talking about Ray Dalio, we're talking about Bridgewater, we're talking about huge funds. Right? You remember all this stuff you're hearing, like it's distribution, whales, big players are selling. Those could be the big players, right? Maybe long-term hodlers cashed out and took their money and went home. 4-year cycle was supposed to end in October. Okay, fine. Great. You took your money, but you also bailed on the future of money. And I don't understand with some of this sovereign behavior that we have, like some of this stuff that's coming out, like in the, the arena of politics, some of these things that are coming to light, folks, not only are they going to have to pivot hard to crypto, but who knows if they're even going to be around. So this crypto pivot, this market structure bill, I think the scramble for the crypto bro vote is on right now. It's on right now. You're going to see the market structure bill in a very big hurry, because if they don't get a win going into the holidays, I don't know. And it's just me, right? In other words, if you look at this Bitcoin chart, right? So if you stay, this is what you stayed to see, because I actually found this kind of compelling. Now, the LuxAlgo work is not pretty. You had this downward sloping triangle, and, it's kind of like a pitcher. You poured the water out of the bottom, but Bitcoin hits the 62% retracement of the move from 75 to 125. It hits the 62% retracement at 94. And, our make it or break it levels from the cycle are, sort of kind of in this neighborhood. So it's like, this level holds, and then you get some kind of bounce or some kind of stability, or you have, kind of a broken market short term and a possible overall rollover. Details are in Patreon Platinum. But all the forced selling, all you got was a 62% retracement. In other words, if I went like this and just said, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing, your emotional blow off top, and then you retrace 62%, would you be like, yeah, well, that's going to zero. That's done. I don't think so. I mean, they sold this is altcoin market cap, right? So you saw what happened to altcoins on, the Binance flash crash. They continue to sell altcoins into support. I mean, why would you get negative now? And why would you not look at what altcoins are going up? Like we had a GAN pick, POKT, that was up 40% today. 40% is a top hit, is a top GAN model pick. It was a top Toby pick and a top GAN model pick because the tech side of crypto is moving. You know, even one of the big influencers said, look, man, there's too much stuff going on in the tech part of crypto to just, you know, to just completely pack it in and give up. There's no way, right? And this AI bubble, like the people in AI are worried about the AI bubble. Well, there's no AI bubble in crypto, folks. None. I mean, look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ actually held support, which is insane, right? Like we're selling Bitcoin down 25 or 30% off of its high. And this is holding? Oh, come on. I mean, you know, and the other thing that's funny about crypto, at least from a macro point of view, is that, you know, apparently, and this speaks to the profit taking, although this looks very well supported to me, is that they actually sold gold today. And you know what? To be honest with you, I think that's a mistake. But it speaks to this idea of hedge fund profit taking, right? These big funds must be like, okay, you know, we're done. We're done. That's it. We're selling our gold. We're selling our Bitcoin. We're buying the MicroStrategy back. And we're going to go home and we're going to have a great holiday season. I used to work at Wall Street. There's nothing like having a profitable year and wrapping it up in the middle of November and being like, peace out. We'll see you in January. There's nothing better. You know, like you have your trench coat, your gloves, and you're in New York. And, you know, I know that we're very far away from that today in crypto, but there was no safe haven bid. There was no like, oh my God, you know, nothing happened in bonds. Like it's the end of the world. Like, oh my God, everything is crashing. Nothing is crashing. They sold gold. They skipped bonds. They didn't do anything. Now, if you go to the tactical TA, okay, Altcoin Daily was just talking about TAO, talking about the subnets. And one of the subnets actually came up. Subnets, I think that's what they're called. We actually had one of these pop to the top in one of like a Toby GAN combo that we just did in the YouTube member area podcast. Okay. Altcoin Daily today was talking about how TAO is this like, you know, you stake these subnet coins or you stake TAO. And this is just like incredible, powerful AI thing. And look what they did to this. This is a 4-hour chart. You got a 13 bottom and it's just this horrendous, grinding, awful A, B, C, 0, right? 0 means it's probably over, right? On support at right on a DeMark support at 322. I mean, what? I mean, this has been in a range. You know, Big Rich and these guys in Patreon have been buying the bottom end of this range. This thing was at 475 like a week ago. Okay, now Bitcoin, if you start looking at the 4-hour chart, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So we've established that there's a big fib number at 94.95. We have a DeMark 9 bottom on the 4-hour chart. That's nice. I'll take it. Okay. And you don't want to see a failed rally, right? We had the failed rally 2 days ago and it was devastating. You want stability. You want range. You want a grinding rally. Anything but a failed rally, it's fine, I think. And again, if you go to altcoins, you know, everybody is all wound up. Here's the 13 bottom in Solana. And then you have this god-awful decline right into a 9 bottom, right on support, at a DeMark support. Like, I don't draw this. It's drawn by the system, right at 136. I mean, I understand the market looks terrible and I understand everyone's wrecked, but I'm also like, what exactly is the problem? What is the problem? I mean, it's the same thing in ETH, 13 bottom, 9 bottom. XRP never went down. Why? Because of the ETF, and no one's talking about this. So there's nothing here big either way, except the fact that XRP is in a box. They tried to slam it down and it came back. That I think is because of the ETF. You know, this is not wonderful or terrible. Okay. It's not. Now, Zcash, this is a whole different animal. This is like a monster. So there is resistance at 680. I don't know that I'm FOMOing in until you see like 2 daily closes above 680. That's how I would do it. You headed for a 9 top on the 4-hour chart. And on the daily chart, even if it gets emotional, which it could, you know, you got this 13 top here. So it's very simple in Zcash. It's very simple. If Zcash doesn't care about the 13 top and pause, because technically Zcash should come off if the rest of the market rallies, you would think, or at least stop for a little while. Zcash doesn't care about that 13 top. It's going to 1,000. It's as simple as that. Whether the rest of the market wants to go along or not, I don't know. But I still think, you know, just as a stock market, a former stock market nerd, it's insane that you have leadership from this coin and everybody is like, well, you know, the short-term holders in Bitcoin had to sell. And wait a minute, shut up. What are you talking about? Bitcoin went down 5% on a hedge fund position adjustment, and the rest of the market actually wants to go up. Because again, you know, if the cycle was over, ETH would be at 2,800. ETH was at 1,300 earlier in the year. If the cycle was really over, where would ETH be trading? Be honest with yourself, right? Would anybody care about the XRP ETF if the cycle was really over? I mean, you know, things can break down. I mean, this went lower than I thought. I get it. I understand. You know, and believe it or not, doesn't mean anything to you, but I feel bad about that. I feel bad. You know, and my P&L got smoked too. My P&L got smoked. I got to decide whether I'm stopping out or whether I'm going to wait for like a weekly close before, you know, I stop out of Bitcoin. I have a really hard time selling Bitcoin into a 62% retracement level. I mean, that feels crazy to me. Okay, so we have the innovation game for our members. You know, to the extent that smaller altcoins are making these kind of formations, I think you have to ask yourself, you know, even if this is not your coin, you have to say, you know what? There are a lot of dormant altcoins out there, particularly in the AI space. I mean, Toby has given me more coins than I can process right now. Like, we got some of them out there, you know, this is like a rounding bottom. Okay. It's that simple. And to the extent that you're seeing that, I don't know, in a broad base of smaller coins, or the smaller coins have been marked down 25 to 30%. Now, somebody is mentioning that there is a CME gap. Okay, so we're back to the era of CME gaps, which is interesting. And you know what? I'm actually not I have not looked at it. I'm going to do it right now. I have not looked at it, which is interesting because, you know, they do say gaps get filled. Let's look at it. I'm going to bring up BTC1 right now. Okay, here it comes. Right, there it is. Gaps get filled. Not the most ridiculous idea in the world that you would fill that gap. You know, that's, what is that, 92? You know, I like my fib number, and of course, you know, this is not QQQ, this is Bitcoin. You know, and of course, this rounding top is, you know, a little ominous, right? The distribution top that people were talking about. I elected for a different interpretation. Okay. So could they fill the CME gap? Yes. What am I looking at in Bitcoin? So let's take out the fib number for just a second. So to state the obvious, it has to get back above 100. That's what the pink LuxAlgo thing is telling you. And I think that's obvious. But if you look deeper at this, okay, you have the X signal here, which means slowing momentum. You have this triangle signal here, which means that could be it. you know, you've had a lot of these signals, I believe, for a while in the other cryptos. And I just really have a hard time with saying, let's all give up. I have the let's all give up level. I have it. I didn't think I was going to be able to get it, but I got it. Okay. It's not 95. Let's put it that way. It's not. Yeah. You have to ask yourself. You really have to ask yourself. Did people sell Bitcoin because there's something wrong with Bitcoin, or nobody wants hard money anymore? Or did people sell Bitcoin just because it was going down and they were upset? Honestly. Okay. Like look at Zero Hedge. Dip buying frenzy rescues stocks from back-to-back weekly bloodbaths. Crypto ugly. Crypto ugly. Interesting graphic, don't you think? Kind of graphic in a way. Right. I think if you start to look at this market, and I hate to say it because this guy can be a goofball, but this is Toby's line, right? You know, he's like, well, if you can't handle the volatility, you should stay out of crypto. Now, that's really not the right thing to say, and he's definitely not the right guy to say it, but a lot of people think this guy's a reverse indicator. He actually comes out on the tape right before something big is going to happen, right? He would say, buy the dip, and it'll crash. So when he come out and say, buy the dip, it was a warning that it was going to be a crash, or they were going to flush it, or whatever these guys do to push the market around. And what he really meant was, you know, buy it when it's down. If you go back and look at the tweets. I think this is very interesting. I don't know if this guy was actually on the tape today, but he's kind of right. You know, everyone wants to go back to when Bitcoin was in 2015 or 2016. Like, I want to buy Bitcoin at $500. Well, guess what, bro? You know, Zcash went from 20 to 500. That is very much like Bitcoin back in the old days. 1 minute Bitcoin's worth 1 cent. The next minute it's worth $10. 1 minute Bitcoin's at $20. The next minute it's at 500. The same thing happened with ETH. ETH was at 80, and then ETH was at 300, and then ETH was at 300 for a long time, and then it was at 3,000. Boom. It didn't take long back in 2020. You know, and if you consider all of the big macro reasons to buy Bitcoin, and you also consider all of these guys who just sold, like this MicroStrategy unwind, all of these guys that were holding Bitcoin as a trade have sold it to who? Who absorbed all of that Bitcoin that these hedge funds sold? Well, I'm guessing it's not traders, and I'm guessing that Bitcoin is not coming back into the market. So if you ever had a catalyst, right? Like, I don't know, how about a problem with banks? Does anybody remember long Bitcoin, short the banks? Corporate bankruptcy filings are rising rapidly, right? Year's not over yet. It's just pump up the jam, right? Anybody notice, like I brought up this earlier about the unemployment rate, right? The unemployment rate and these numbers that they're going to put out over Thanksgiving. Like, they're not putting out, they were supposed to release them in October. And honestly, I got to be honest, I can't believe the market didn't look at that and go, oh my God, the economy's falling out of bed. It's falling out of bed. The payroll number, the job numbers are down, and the inflation numbers are up. And they just absolutely panicked and couldn't release it because they would have that and this, you know, law enforcement scandal on top of that. And the optics of that, frankly, they get worse and worse every day. I got to be honest with you. The whole purpose of Bitcoin was to not have the government moon your bags. The whole purpose of Bitcoin was to move outside of this system. I mean, did you see this interview where they were talking about, I don't know, let's just call it people from overseas coming to college, coming to work. I mean, did you hear what he said about this stuff? I mean, I have this thing on the stream where I go, who is looking out for you? And I mean, you are. And I don't care what you're doing. Like, for example, we got a guy who's very into, you know, some base coins. We got other guys that are into TAO. We got a guy who's into MicroStrategy. Now, when it comes to like highly speculative coins, like this is Toshi, something that one of our guys is into. Now, this is your standard meme coin. And you have to ask yourself, with stuff like this, did this thing just break? Did it just break? If it did, it'll probably maybe retest. But this is, and I'm not picking on this coin. Okay? I'm not picking on this coin. But you have to ask yourself, should you be in the tech part of crypto? Like Toby in the YouTube member area has taken a fictional novel and started using it as a fictional book and turned it into a model to find AI-based altcoins. Like the last 3 podcasts, like what's the best move? What's the best move? It's got to be these AI altcoins as this whole trade shifts, because you know what? I mean, these things could change, but Warren Buffett just bought Google, and whatever stock market bubble they were looking for as of today is still in place. I mean, if I had told you that Bitcoin was going to go down 5%, and I would have asked you, what would have happened in NASDAQ on that day? Well, you would have been like, oh my God, NASDAQ would have been down, you know, 3% or 5% or 7% that day. NASDAQ's unchanged. NASDAQ's unchanged. So why are we selling? Why are we selling in this type of environment? I don't get it. Now, if you look, you know, some of these altcoins like POKT, these data sharing and networking coins, this is off to the races. Like LuxAlgo put support underneath the POKT Dusk. Okay, this is a privacy layer 1 for real world asset trading. And I call this the dash formation, where you have this huge spike, bag holders get out, and then if the dip holds, what do you know? I mean, all these coins like, you know, Manta, ZKC, Mina, you know, these are all in the Toby Gann privacy basket that I'm giving you for free. And, you know, everybody wants to buy when it's up, but no one wants to buy when it's down. And if you look at this, you go, okay, well, this is a privacy-based altcoin, okay? And it just went up and retraced 62%. But, I mean, would you look at this and be like, oh, yeah, the cycle's over, it's done? Would you? I mean, altcoins, dare I say this, altcoins want to go up. They want to go up. Like, here's another classic, you know, that is still dormant. Housing on the blockchain. Can housing get any more broken? 50-year mortgages? Really? I think they're going to have to put that market on the blockchain. This is Propy, right? Real estate on the blockchain, just completely dormant, sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Virtuals, right? Everybody wanted virtuals at $1.80, but no one wants it at $1.19 on top of support. Like, again, if the cycle was over, you'd be seeing this. You'd be seeing this, right? You'd be seeing just done. I don't know. I mean, I just have to let the market and the charts and the asset allocation mentality. Toby calls it the buckets. You know, what are the buckets that you are looking at? You're like, what's a bucket? Dude, you have to know what you're looking at. You do. Because the market, like I got to check out NEAR. Again, okay, NEAR, Zcash works through NEAR. The Zashi wallet, Zach XBT talked about it. Everyone thinks this is the end of the world, and in most altcoins, it's a 62% retracement. It's a 62% retracement in Bitcoin, which is kind of like the magic number in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. So I mean, I don't want to over talk the point, but I don't know. Like if we start looking at valuations, total cryptocurrency market cap. Let me get that up for a second. Total cryptocurrency market cap is now at 3.2 trillion. Total altcoin market cap is 918 billion. So it's worth less than 1 trillion. That's incredible. That's like the future of the entire internet, including AI. Okay. Rossoneri wants the magic number for the cycle. That's for our Patreon Platinum guys. We have a little bit more room before that happens. Let's think about this for a second. XRP is not even worth $150 billion, and they're going to pour into that ETF. I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. In other words, if they don't have to asset allocate under duress, maybe they just do a quiet gliding shift from tech stocks over into these ETFs. Solana is $75 billion for Solana, right? $382 billion for ETH, and the market cap for Bitcoin is under 2 trillion. Ask yourself this question. Bitcoin is worth half as much as NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA makes very important chips, right? You buy the chips, and what do you do with the chips? Well, you put them in a giant machine. And what do you do with the giant machine? I don't know. You build the giant chatbot, or you build something that will be amazing in the future. You will. It's not, I'm not questioning that. But it's, you know, they make and design chips, hardware. Bitcoin is hard money, right? It's a whole system of finance. Michael Saylor has built a Bitcoin yield curve. It's supposedly digital gold. So why is it that something like that should be worth half as much as hardware? People in legacy, I know people are reacting. You don't want to talk about these things, but you got to talk about these things because these legacy guys are going to walk into the office on Monday. They're going to go, you know, if we're not, before we leave for the holidays, maybe we should allocate a little money over to this, you know, because this looks ridiculously cheap compared to everything else. And I don't know that this privacy trade is going to stop. I discussed earlier that Monero processes half the privacy transactions in the whole world at half the market cap of Zcash. If Zcash becomes an absolute monster, what is Zcash going to take with it? In other words, there's one thinking that Zcash is like the new Bitcoin. I mean, it is a Bitcoin fork. I was wondering whether Zcash could be the new Ethereum and actually lead the whole altcoin space. Everybody thinks it's over. I think it may just be starting because everybody who's bearish doesn't talk about the privacy uptrend. Doesn't talk about the privacy uptrend at all. It's a bull market and a bear market going on at the same time, right? At the same time. Here we go. You know, what's funny about XRP is that, you know, the ETF launch sets the stage for a reversal. Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing about XRP. When the market isn't moving, all of these YouTube-based engagement farmers are giving you every tweet, every blow-by-blow, anything that happens with XRP, they're telling you about it. And sometimes I think these guys just like make it up just to get the XRP click of the day. This thing is in an ETF. XRP outperformed. The XRP ETF right now is doing a little bit better than the Solana ETF. And no one is paying attention to this. No one is paying attention to the fact that, gee, you know, Bitcoin may have gone down, but they're after Zcash, a digital money solution. They're after Dash. Okay, interesting. No one owns Dash. Why aren't they after XRP? Frankly, why aren't they after Solana? Right? Or any of these digital cash solutions? You know, I can't believe the way they hammered Bitcoin Cash today. It's amazing that all the bullish things that have been out there vanished because Bitcoin cracked 100, ran stops, and all the short-term holders got pushed out by simple, big hedge fund profit taking. Another headline that no one paid attention to today. Okay, BlackRock live on Binance. You know, there are a lot of assets out there, particularly inside banks, that they can't get liquidity for. Like all these banks have got assets that they need to move somehow, and they can't move it through the legacy market, and they may have to get them on chain. I don't think people understand what would happen if there was a problem with a bank. Like, does it fit anybody's thinking that they maybe have delayed the payroll number or the inflation number because they didn't want something to happen with banks, that Bessent is actually buying time with that Treasury general account to try to figure out if there actually is a problem out there? Because there was a huge problem out there prior to the shutdown. No conversation about that whatsoever. None. Right? So, I mean, you want to always think using you want to use as much of your bullish imagination as you can when things look as bad as they do. Because this idea of, you know, a bull market and a bear market going on at the same time, ask yourself this question. Is there anyone left to get out? Is there anyone left to force out? I mean, what was the liquidations on the Binance trade? I want to say it was like 19 billion. I don't know if that's right or not. So we just keep liquidating everybody. A billion. It's just like massive amounts of money just keep vanishing over what happened with a 5% drop in Bitcoin. A 5% drop in Bitcoin has now become like a 5% drop in the S&P. That's limit down for S&P futures. Stonks didn't go down. The administration is trapped and has to pivot towards the market structure bill. And I'm going to tell you why. If that market structure bill does not pass, then everything that the current administration has done with crypto can A, get unwound, and B, they can nail the people in the administration, their children, their wives, for whatever has gone on in crypto since they came into office. That's going to get done. It's going to get done because all the people that donated to the ballroom want it done. Ripple, XRP, Coinbase, and somebody might actually be smart enough to figure out, although that's debatable, whether somebody could figure out that crypto could become an actual growth industry, that they are backed into a corner to such a degree. The optics are so awful. How can the world not pivot towards crypto? Right? Kilakev said so many bullish narratives. Hard to believe it's crashes. Sebastian from Twitter says, Zcash is what Bitcoin was supposed to be and what Bitcoin Cash tried to be. It's going much higher. I am proud to be on record on Zcash in 2023. I'm proud to say that the first little portfolio that me and Toby ever set up, I think she beat me by a long shot, but I had Zcash in mine. 2 years later, you know, I'm vindicated on Zcash, and it's an under-discussed story. It is absolutely under-discussed. I mean, you realize that, you know, they went from optional shielded transactions. I'm pretty sure you can move Zcash inside a Zashi wallet. And if not, the money that they got from the VCs and the Winklevoss twins for development, right? Imagine this, you know, development in the Bitcoin space. Wow, what a novel idea. You can move Zcash privately from one Zashi wallet to another. Zcash is going to 3,000. Zcash should be top 5. Chainlink was top 5 in 2020. Compound. Does anybody know what Compound is? Nobody even knows what I'm talking about. Compound and Chainlink were top 5 tokens during the DeFi run in 2020. And even if Bitcoin maybe goes a little dormant, but I don't even know why Bitcoin would go dormant with this whole idea of fiat, hard money, and what's going on with sovereigns and all this other stuff. I can't believe that people would just absolutely pack it in like that, right? Particularly with this idea of, this is really funny, right? We talked about this with MicroStrategy and pension funds. Look at these characters moving into the Bitcoin ETF. These guys were in trouble earlier in the year with like lack of government funding. A lot of their assets are not liquid. They're probably looking to hedge a large part of the assets that they own by putting $320 million into the Bitcoin ETF. They're just like, wait a minute, you know, and even if that's paper Bitcoin, I don't care. In other words, you can't make enough paper Bitcoin for pension funds, endowments, you know, these mutual funds. You just can't. You just absolutely cannot, right? Never seen a top when fear and greed was at 10. Oh my God. Thank you. Right? I mean, Bitcoin's just coming off of its high. It's a 25% correction or a 30% correction in Bitcoin, and fear and greed is at 10. You had a 40% correction in August of 2017, and it literally went straight up. And I continue to believe that, like, everyone's like, oh my God, who's selling? You know, the short-term holders are underwater. Everyone's got their on-chain data came out. Really, I think it's the hedge funds, but really it doesn't matter. Because when the last person is out, right? When the last person gets out of the pool, that's when it just goes. And there's no seller in the market. Like, you're like, why is Zcash moving the way it is? There's no seller. Where's the big supply of Zcash to sell anybody? There isn't. There isn't any. There isn't any, right? The Winklevoss twins bought a bunch or are going to buy a bunch. VCs have a huge position. Where's the seller? There's no seller. And there's no other way to really get exposure except through Grayscale's product or spot, which is why it trades like it does. It trades the way Bitcoin used to. Like, anybody who's like seen a cycle or two is like seeing Bitcoin jumping around 5 and 6% at a time, 10, 20% ranges, whatever, 40% corrections in a week. Sure. You wanted to go back to the old days? Congratulations. You have arrived at the old days. Now, let's take a look at MicroStrategy itself and some of these crypto equities. Okay. This MicroStrategy chart is stark, raving unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable. So there's a lot here, but just from a common sense standpoint, this MicroStrategy chart is a Whoops, sorry. It's an ABC sideways correction. Very simply. A, B, C. They sold MicroStrategy, or actually, let me rephrase this. Hedge funds wisely covered their shorts with MicroStrategy in the discount zone, right? At the level where the whole launch point started from in October of last year. This red on red here, this is MicroStrategy's corporate employees unloading. So they all sold. And then the stock just collapsed right into the discount zone. And everybody is packing it in on Michael Saylor. And Michael Saylor is a genius at 125 and an idiot at 95. That's insane. And part of why the market corrected, I think, was that, believe it or not, some of these crypto equities were actually kind of out of control, right? Like HUD 8, I was screaming for years when it was at 12, it goes to 56, right? This was way overdone relative to Bitcoin, like what? Way overdone. So they love the crypto equities, but they don't love crypto. And look at them selling Galaxy Digital, right? Look at them selling Mike Novogratz's stock. You got to be kidding me. Right into the bottom. Right into the bottom of an accumulation cone. And LuxAlgo support. Are these guys crazy? Like, do you realize that this guy's got AI? He's got an AI mining operation. I'm sorry, a Bitcoin mining operation that is now AI data center. In addition to, one of the top holders of Bitcoin. And they marked the stock down from 48, which was frothy, to 24. The crypto equities were ahead of crypto. So the equities corrected to, I don't know, a normal level. Like what? I don't know. Maybe a 50% retracement. Tell me. There we go. So close to the 62% retracement, right around 50%. No one wanted it. Everyone at 48, it was great, but at 24, I didn't want it. T-Bone with the super chat. Sir, I hooked you up in Patreon. You have MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin, the executive summary, and 13 pages. I'm like, oh, well, T-Bone's got all he could ever read on MicroStrategy. Did it for you, brother. Did it for all the Spartans in Patreon. Okay, let's wrap this up. First of all, I'm back from the flu. We're going to be as live as much as possible. Yeah, I got it wrong at 99, but the market feels cleaner to me now. Like the short-term people got stopped out. The hedge funds that were long BTC have unloaded that. Altcoins, if it was the end of a cycle, didn't break down, and fear greed is at 10. I mean, when fear greed was at 0, wait a minute, one final chart, right? Fear greed in S&P. Let's forget about NASDAQ for a second. Just think about this. Fear greed in stonks right here literally was 0 right there. And when this thing turned, right, you got a lurch up, one dip, and then there's no dip, none. Right? This is what happens when you get a sentiment that extreme. And I think people in crypto were feeling horrendous before this thing broke down. Like this hedge fund profit taking just crushed everyone's spirit. It crushed mine until Just Dario came out and said, hey, wait a minute. This could be a big hedge fund unwind. So I know stonks are supported by the Fed, and I get it. But this feels like a repeat. This feels like our version of what they went through. I think a lot of people knew that 77 Bitcoin was, that was BS. Nobody thought it was going to stay down there, even though that was ugly, right? The real fear was in stonks because of the tariffs. That's where the real fear was. Now over here, I think with Bitcoin cracking and this market not trading right, we're the ones with the real fear. Oh my God, the equities. Oh my God, they're booking plans for Thanksgiving in Europe or whatever. They get zero problems. So what is our problem? We don't have any problems. Our only problem is that we have to invest, as Toby says, in the platform of the future. We have to invest in ourselves. Okay, that is the market update for Friday night. I am your host, Bill Noble. We will see you soon.